Two metals rule the Marvel Universe. One absorbs sound and energy to build the most advanced civilization on Earth, while the other is a toxic, heavy, indestructible alloy that turns men into weapons. Imagining King T'Challa making a different choice reveals a darker reality, where the Black Panther suit is forged from adamantium instead of woven from vibranium. This might sound like an upgrade to an armor that literally cannot be broken, but the switch would ruin T'Challa's fighting style. It would poison his blood and turn his greatest strength into a fatal weakness. T'Challa would notice the crushing weight long before the strength. Vibranium is incredibly light, at roughly 1/3 the weight of steel, allowing the Black Panther to move like a gymnast, scaling walls and leaping across rooftops. Adamantium is the opposite, because it is astronomically dense. Wolverine's skeleton alone adds over 100 pounds to his frame just by coating his bones, so a full suit of armor would weigh hundreds of pounds. T'Challa would move like a tank instead of a silent predator. His signature acrobatics, like triple kicks in midair or running up building sides, would vanish instantly. He would be grounded, heavy, and exhausted within minutes of combat. A specific physics problem kills the concept of an adamantium panther. Vibranium absorbs kinetic energy rather than just blocking attacks, so T'Challa barely feels it when a grenade hits him. Adamantium is rigid and transfers shock instead of absorbing it. If the Hulk punched an adamantium suit, the metal wouldn't break, but the man inside would turn to jelly, because the force has to go somewhere. Without vibranium's dampening properties, a single heavy blow would rattle T'Challa's brain against his skull. He might survive the cut, but the internal bleeding from the impact would finish him. He becomes a knight in unbreakable plate armor, who dies from the blunt force trauma of a warhammer. The offense becomes terrifying, even though his defense takes a hit against blunt force. Vibranium claws are dangerous, but adamantium cuts through almost anything in the universe. T'Challa could slice through Iron Man's armor like it was paper, or dismantle Dr. Octopus's arms in seconds. Wolverine cuts through steel blast doors and damage Thanos' armor in the comics, so Dr. Octopus is billed in greening but another most anything in the Gend. Wolverine cuts through steel blast doors and damaged Thanos' armor, so great for live. Wolverine was mentioned out steel blast doors and damage these Defiant's armor both. T'Challa could slice through Iron Man's armor like it was paper. He would create a weak point in an enemy's defense, rather than finding one. The adamantium suit wins every time, if the fight relies purely on cutting power. A huge thank you goes out to everyone leaving comments. This video exists because you asked for it in the discussions of our last upload. We pick our best what-if topics directly from your ideas, so drop any crazy scenarios you want us to analyze down below. Make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss the next deep dive. Let's return to the suit analysis. The Black Panther is named after a silent hunter, because T'Challa uses stealth to track enemies and strike before they know he is there. His current suit has soles that dampen sound to allow silent running on glass, but an adamantium suit ruins this completely. A silent suit cannot be made out of heavy and rigid metal. Every movement would make noise, even if he used a chainmail mesh. The sheer weight means his footsteps would be heavy and loud. He would sound less like a jungle cat and more like a bag of wrenches falling downstairs, failing a stealth mission before he even entered the room. The visual appearance of the suit presents another issue. Vibranium is unique because it can be woven into a microweave fabric that fits like a second skin. Adamantium is an alloy that must be cast while molten and sets forever once it cools. It cannot be woven into a soft cloth. T'Challa would have to wear heavy plates like medieval armor or a dense chainmail to make a suit. Both options restrict flexibility. The fluid martial arts fighting style of Wakanda relies on full range of motion. Putting T'Challa in rigid plates means he can no longer fight like a panther. Adamantium carries a dark secret regarding its toxicity. The Logan timeline, and many comics, establish that the metal constantly leaches poison into the body. Wolverine survives only because his mutant healing factor works overtime to keep him alive. T'Challa has enhanced strength and healing from the heart-shaped herb, but it is not on the same level as Wolverine's regeneration. Wearing a suit of pure adamantium would likely sicken him over time, especially if it connects to his skin or nervous system. He would be wearing a coffin that slowly kills him from the outside in, rather than a suit that protects him. Black Panther has held a major advantage against the Master of Magnetism for years, because Vibranium is typically non-magnetic, or resistant to magnetic manipulation. T'Challa fights Magneto without being crushed instantly, but Adamantium is a ferrous alloy that Magneto controls effortlessly. We have seen him rip the skeleton right out of Wolverine's body. T'Challa would become Magneto's puppet, rather than just losing to him if he wore an adamantium suit. One gesture means the King of Wakanda would be crushed inside his own armor or thrown into orbit. This introduces a hard counter that T'Challa simply cannot beat. Modern movie fans love the purple kinetic energy wave T'Challa releases to flip cars and knock back armies. This property is exclusive to Vibranium because the metal stores energy until the user releases it. Adamantium is just hard metal with no energy storage capacity. Switching metals means T'Challa loses his area of effect attacks completely. He can no longer jump into a crowd of enemies to let them hit him before blasting them all away. He loses his crowd control and becomes a single-target fighter, forced to punch and slash every individual enemy, one by one. His battlefield efficiency drops massively. The convenience of the modern Black Panther suit is unmatched, since T'Challa can tap his necklace to have nanities swarm his body and form the armor. This works because Vibranium is mutable and adaptable at a molecular level, but Adamantium does not work well with nanotechnology. The molecular structure of adamantium is incredibly stable once it bonds, which is what makes it indestructible. Breaking it down into fluid nanites that can reform instantly is chemically impossible in most Marvel lore. An adamantium suit would have to be put on piece by piece, like Iron Man's early armors. T'Challa would lose the element of surprise and could be caught without his suit, leaving the king vulnerable. Examining Wakanda itself shows that the entire nation is built on Vibranium. It powers their cities, heals their sick, and advances their science. Adamantium lacks this versatility because it is only good for killing and protecting. A utopia cannot be built out of adamantium, since it doesn't conduct energy like Vibranium or stimulate plant growth. Wakanda would be just another military nation with strong weapons, rather than the futuristic paradise we know, if they swapped their great mound for an adamantium mine. The suit is a symbol of their resource, so changing the metal changes what Wakanda represents. Testing this theory requires looking back at when Thanos punched Black Panther in Infinity War. The Vibranium suit absorbed the hit in the movie, though T'Challa was still knocked out cold. That punch would have gone differently if he had been wearing adamantium. The suit would not have dented, yet the force of a Titan's punch transferring directly through rigid metal would have shattered every bone in T'Challa's body. Cap's Vibranium shield broke because it reached its absorption limit. An adamantium suit would remain intact, while the man inside broke. Shock absorption is the only thing keeping him alive against cosmic threats like Thanos. Fans often ask whether Panther or Wolverine would win. Panther has the edge with a Vibranium suit because his anti-metal claws can melt adamantium, and his suit dampens Wolverine's heavy strikes. Panther loses if he switches to adamantium. Wolverine has decades of experience fighting with a heavy skeleton, while T'Challa does not. Wolverine's claws would spark against T'Challa's armor, with neither able to cut the other, turning the fight into a wrestling match. The fighter who can heal from any injury beats the guy who can't. T'Challa gives up his rock-paper-scissors advantage by adopting Wolverine's metal. Being too durable presents a massive risk. Doctors need to operate if T'Challa suffers a heart attack or internal bleeding. He simply retracts a nanotech vibranium suit, but medics cannot cut him out of an adamantium plate suit if the locking mechanism jams. The jaws of life cannot bend adamantium, and laser saws cannot cut it. He could bleed to death inside his own armor because the medical team simply cannot get to him. Being sealed inside an unbreakable shell is a medical nightmare waiting to happen, similar to Rhino's situation in the comics, where he was trapped in a suit he couldn't remove. The switch is definitely not an upgrade. Adamantium is the stronger metal, yet Vibranium is the smarter material. Black Panther is a king, a scientist, and a ninja rather than a brawler. He needs versatility instead of just raw hardness. Adamantium takes away his speed, stealth, energy powers, and health, while giving him only cutting power and durability in return. It turns a sophisticated superhero into a blunt instrument. This works for Wolverine because Logan is a berserker who relies on taking damage, but it fails for T'Challa because he relies on avoiding it. The adamantium suit is better in only one scenario: fighting a slasher. The vibranium weave might eventually fail or be cut between the threads if T'Challa fought an army of Wolverines or enemies with lightsabers. Adamantium plating would offer total immunity to slashing attacks. The adamantium suit is superior in a specific duel against a swordsman who cannot use blunt force. However, the trade-offs are too high in the chaotic world of Marvel, where threats range from aliens to magnets to gods. The Panther chooses Vibranium because it is the best option overall, regardless of whether it is the strongest metal. The suit doesn't make the hero, though the wrong suit can definitely break him. T'Challa's wisdom lies in understanding that balance and flexibility often beat raw strength. He needs to be unstoppable rather than unbreakable. Thank you for exploring this alternate reality. Hit that subscribe button to see more deep dives into comic book science in the next video.